Good morning. I'm Burns Fisher. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the vice president of the church, but I'm speaking for our president, Lindsay Hedrick, who is engaged with childcare duties. Ironically, it was 6 years ago to the day, February 9th, 2019, that a different iteration of this board met for a 2-day retreat. Prior to the retreat, our long-range planning committee met with every team and committee, in addition to hosting several open-door listening sessions to ask this congregation some big questions. What is your vision of our future? Imagine if money, time, staff, volunteer skills, and enthusiasm were unlimited. What do you see? The congregation was asked to dream big. You were asked to dream big. The result was over 1,000 pieces of data that told the story of who we were in 2019 and who we wanted to become. Using all of the data that was collected, the board drafted what we know today as our current values, mission, and end statements. So, yeah, technically the board wrote them, but not really. You did. You dreamed them. We speak of our values regularly: wonder, authentic connection, courageous community, love and action. We recite the words of our mission regularly. We are a welcoming community of faith, inspiring lives of wonder, generosity, and courage, serving the world through love and action. That all sounds familiar, right? But we don't talk about our end statements as explicitly and nearly as often. Our end statements are longer, more difficult to memorize, and equally important, though, as are our values and mission. Board members are here today to speak personally on each of the 8 end statements and to demonstrate how they're woven into everything we do and who we want to become. The first end statement is mine. Know our authentic Unitarian Universalist faith identity, teach it to our children, share it with others, and live it in the world. And now this is me speaking. Carol Hood and Victoria Agnew might be surprised that I would speak about this particular end statement. As recently as my first year on the board with Victoria, when Carol was president, I scoffed at the word authentic. It was meaningless to me in this context. But recently, I remembered something in my past that helped me understand better how that word applied to me. I grew up as a congregationalist, and at about age 17, I took a membership class. As part of becoming a member, I had to make statements of faith and various promises. But when I did that, I felt like I was lying. Only recently did I realize that the problem was I was not being authentic. That was not my authentic faith identity. Now, having signed my first UU membership book something like 45 years ago, I can now say that UUism really does feel authentic to me. Not that I agree with what everyone here says, or even that I become best friends with everyone that walks through the door. However, we all have a connection that feels right. I think that Ellen and I taught our children a UU faith identity. As kids in our UU churches, they were exposed to a lot of variety of people and ideas, as well as UU principles. This doesn't mean we insisted that they grow up UUs. I'm proud of the women both of them have become, and I think that is the most important thing. And I want to say one more thing about teaching our children. Many people who, like me, do not help directly with faith formation activities for the kids answer don't know to the question in our end survey that asks if in our church we're teaching our children about UUism. I understand that answer, but when I take a look around during the church or after church and see children interacting with adults, singing with us, have you noticed the little ones singing peace and joy as they come into the coffee hour? It's so cool. And yes, running around and having fun. I know we're passing on our UU values. As to sharing with others, I don't think it's necessary to proselytize, and I don't. I simply don't hesitate to mention church. For example, I might say, well, I can't do something or other because I'm taking a class at church. If someone asks more, I'm happy to talk if they want to. And I expect that many of us, when faced with a decision, consider how we are living our UU identity. I know I certainly do. I sometimes find that I've let myself down, especially in how I treat some people, and have to look at our covenant of right relationships to help me with the best thing to do, even if the person I wronged is not a UU. So that's my story about what this end statement about authentic UU identity means to me. I hope hearing it will be as helpful to you as writing it was to me.
The second is develop meaningful spiritual practices that connect us to wonder. Develop a meaningful spiritual practice. That phrase might sound like a big task, something complex or time-consuming, but it doesn't have to be. For some, this comes naturally, and if that's you, I celebrate that. There are moments when I feel deeply connected to the web of existence, when gratitude and appreciation flow effortlessly, when that feeling of love, community, and connection fills my heart. But the idea of a practice, that can sound overwhelming, something structured, disciplined, maybe even exhausting. It doesn't need to be. Right now, you're here, whether in person or virtually. Well, we're all here virtually today. If this is your first time, I welcome you with all my heart. By returning each week, you are already engaging in a spiritual practice. By setting aside this time each Sunday, you reflect on who you are, where you've been, and where you'd like to go. As much as I receive from gathering with you all, there are weeks when the grace I find here doesn't quite carry me to the next service. And that's when my personal spiritual practices come in. My first suggestion, don't overthink it. One of the simplest practices I do involves something as ordinary as a glass of water. I dip my finger in and offer a drop. That's it. Sometimes it's just a habit, but even that small act reminds me that life is bigger than whatever concerns are on my mind. Other times I might offer a couple of drops with a specific hope or intention, sometimes even speaking it aloud. Another practice I'm working on, maybe a little less consistently, is greeting the sun. In the Mahabharata, there's a story of Karan who honors the sun each morning. Inspired by that, I try and pause when I first see the sun each day, just for a moment, and acknowledge the gift of the new day. With these examples in mind, I invite you to notice the small moments in your day that connect you with something greater. It could be picking up a book at night and pausing to reflect on the day, or when your child, your cat, or your spouse greets you in the morning, and you take a moment to appreciate those who touch your heart, and a quiet thought for those who came before and those who will come after. A spiritual practice doesn't have to be grand or time-consuming. Sometimes it's as simple as noticing the moment you're in and recognizing that you are part of everything.
Good morning. My name is Cecile Bonvoudois, and today I wanted to talk to you about our third N, which is asking for and receiving care, support, and connection during times of struggle, joy, and transition. So, to me, this is the most important end because during our times of struggles and celebration, it can be a time when we feel most alone and not sure how to reach out to others to share our difficult news or even our joyous news. I have spent the whole of my career working in the field of human services as a counselor, a clinician, and a social worker. And I quickly discovered early in my career that humans are especially uncomfortable asking for support. I would hear comments such as, it's embarrassing to have problems. It is the human nature for all of us to look around and think everybody else's life is more uncomplicated, or at least people know enough not to ask about it. But I learned that often during people's most challenging or celebratory times, that they are just looking to be listened to and heard, and looking for that human connection that will help them to get from one point in their lives to the next. Church, my youngest son once said, is a place that offers hope. I have never forgotten that comment, and I agree that having a community of people that offers hope can be uplifting and bring promise in good and tough times. I can testify firsthand that this place, our UU Church of Nashua, is a place that offers hope and support if you are willing to be vulnerable and share your joys and concerns. My first experience was shortly after becoming a new member some 20 plus years ago, when during Joys and Concerns, I stood up and shared that my husband was facing an unexpected layoff. I will never forget how a church member came right over to the pew and sat beside me, showing her support long before the service ended. Whether it was members stopping by my father-in-law's wake to offer a bit of moral support, or the cards that came in the mail, or joining the grief support group, or celebrating all of our kids' owl and ropes completion, all were meaningful connections. This is truly a special end that welcomes in our vulnerable side if we are willing to let it show. It lends an opportunity for others to contribute to your well-being, and never underestimate how good it feels for those of us giving support as much as receiving it. Our church is committed to being available to offer hope, support, connection, and love during your joys, your struggles, and your transitions. We are truly here for you. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Cecile. My name is Amanda, and I have our fourth end statement, which is grow leaders who serve the needs of our congregation and our community with faith, resilience, and courage. I joined this church thinking it was a place to be in connection with who I am, other than who I am at work as a marketing manager. I come for inspiration and ideas and peace that is separate from the larger, more public parts of my life. But over the years, as my participation here has taken on a variety of forms, I've surprised myself in finding that one of my most satisfying professional stretch projects was serving this congregation. Reverend Allison and other leaders in our congregation saw potential in me, or maybe they were just desperate, and they asked me to step in and fill roles here that I would not have pursued for myself. I was invited to co-lead marketing communications for the capital campaign in 2023, where we needed to raise over $2 million and time was short. Writing emails, creating a logo, designing brochures, posting web copy, sourcing images, proofing copy, and doing it all while staying close to the heart of our mission was a lot of work over those few weeks. I am so incredibly proud of the work of that team and all we did to meet and surpass our goals. And then we did it again 6 months ago. And it taught me that I can lead this. And now I feel more confident in my skills at work and what might be next for me professionally. When we come here, we bring our whole selves into service. And that includes our skills, our interests, our talents, and even our hangups about being good enough at any of those things. But there are discoveries to be found here if you are willing to accept a new challenge about what you're capable of, what you can find time to do, effort that brings a sense of fulfillment and purpose. If this resonates with you, if you're curious, Please come speak to any of us.
Good morning. My name is Paul Cardone, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm going to talk to you today about our end statement that says we will steward our congregational community with our time, talent, and money. And around that, we create brave space for all ages where we steward our congregational community with our time, talent, and money. That means we donate money to the church, yes, and that it's an important part of keeping our community afloat and thriving. But donating your time and talent are also important contributions that align with our ends. There are many ways to devote your time and or talent to this community. Long ago, I started off helping with cookouts and flipping burgers and contributing pulled pork to community dinners. I like to cook, and so our family contributes a barbecue every spring, and we have a great time doing it. So I've been a rover to support our faith formation and having a safe environment here at our church service. And now I'm a member of our board of trustees. So there are many ways to get involved outside of money, some more visible than others, and we certainly appreciate and notice the people who donate their singing talents, like we just heard from our choir each week. And also the worship associates who help plan our services and do readings. But there are more behind the scene ways as well, helping our service run smoothly each week, like our Smooth Sunday teams, and keeping us in touch with each other and our larger community. Now, what are your talents and interests, and what are ways are you already donate your time and talent and money? Or are there new ways that you could? Some things to think about going forward. It's not just about money. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am Karen. My pronouns are she, her. I am the clerk of the board, and I'm happy to talk about the sixth ends, which is participate actively in our larger Unitarian Universalist community. So I remember a Sunday more than 10 years ago now when I attended a cottage meeting, which was organized by our ministerial search committee to discuss what we wanted in our next minister. It was nice to be with so many people that I hadn't spent time with because as a parent and a teacher in RE, I wasn't always involved with the other people at church. I realized I hadn't been connecting with many members of the congregation during the Sunday services in the sanctuary. So during that meeting, we were discussing the topic, what does involvement mean to you at the church? I shared that aside from RE, I wasn't sure what the needs were for the committees that existed, but I wanted to get more involved. So at the time, to my surprise, I caught the attention of Kate O'Shea and Dave Hudson, who approached me very quickly after that meeting, talking about all the ways I could get involved. But one of them was that Kate had told me about that there was a team focusing on leadership development, and there was an upcoming training in the Concord UU Church, attended by several other New Hampshire UU churches. No commitment, she said. It would just be great to hear your thoughts as a training specialist. I agreed, and although leadership development wasn't my specific field, I do love a good training. But this experience opened my eyes to the larger UU committee. It was really nice visiting the Concord UU Church, even just physically to see the different kinds of churches that are out there. I learned not just about leadership that day, but also about the diversity of the congregations and their approaches to community involvement. From Nashua, of course, we had the largest group at the training, and it was clear we were all striving for similar goals in leadership development. So from that one admission in our cottage meeting, that led me to co-lead our Evolve Leadership Development Initiative with Pat Ledoux and many others. It was a rewarding journey alongside these other UU churches in New Hampshire. So that was a great experience. Another significant way that many from our church engage with our larger UU community is by attending the annual UUA meeting as a delegate of our congregation. And I think if you would like to join, please let Burns know, our Vice President. If we were live in person, I would love to see a raise of hands for those of you who have attended the UUA meeting in the past. I don't know if we can do that online, but I'm sure many of you, oh, I see a few hands. Okay. This year, I'm excited to attend for the first time, and I'm going to take my son, Sam, with me. The multi-day event features services, social justice discussions, music, and more. I am looking forward to expanding my awareness of our greater UU community.
Hello, this is Barnes again, and once again, I'm speaking for Lindsay. Um, the end this on this time is understanding systems of oppression and privilege, and work to dismantle from within ourselves, our congregation, our community, and the larger world. In my freshman year of college, and I guess again, this is Lindsay speaking, I took a sociology course. In it, we were given a series of, quote, controversial topics, arguments on both sides of each topic, and we were asked to pick a side, to decide where we stood. Now, I don't remember most of what we covered in that class, but I do remember one of them, affirmative action. Referring to the policies aimed at increasing opportunities for historically marginalized racial and ethnic groups in higher education, we were given articles both for and against affirmative actions in college admissions. I can remember reading articles weighing both sides and thinking, well, I don't know. And since all I really had to do was write a paragraph proving I read the material, I did just that. I picked a side. I remember the closing sentence of my paragraph so clearly. Affirmative action is reverse racism. The next day in class, we discussed the topic with the professor, and at the conclusion of the discussion, he asked who was for affirmative action and who was against it. Every single person in my all-white class of 30 students in upper class Fairfield, Connecticut was against it. And I remember thinking, well, that must be the right answer. Almost 20 years later, this memory makes me cringe. And frankly, this wasn't something I ever planned to share out loud to anyone. I don't remember where I was when I first learned about equity, but suffice it to say, it definitely wasn't in college. This church has helped me to better understand the present day inequalities that we're struggling with. I've been particularly touched by the work of the New Hampshire Community Bail Fund, as well as the research, storytelling, and action this congregation has taken around the story of the Campbell family. I'm grateful to this community for helping me and for giving me the opportunity to continue to learn and grow. I'm a better person for it.
My name is Emma. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the trustee of the board of, I'm the treasurer of the board of trustees. And this is the 8th and final ends statement. Work in deep partnership to advance justice and heal our community and our world. One of the ways we put our love into action is by giving away our Sunday collection each week to a worthy cause. Yes, we did that part of the service already, but giving away our Sunday collection is one of the ways we partner with community organizations to advance justice and heal the world. Over the years, I have heard from so many executive directors and volunteers as they stand in front of us and tell us about their work, the challenges they're trying to address, and the help they offer, from providing bikes to people who need a way to get around, to feeding the hungry, keeping the heat on, or offering legal services to at-risk kids. Sometimes they get emotional talking to us. Sometimes I get emotional listening to them. Some months I want to give all my money, but I can't because I need to keep my own heat on. But by working together, we as a congregation give thousands of dollars to each of these organizations. Those dollars make a big difference for a small nonprofit and the people they serve. Another way I personally work in partnership is through the Nashua Interfaith Choir. We sing with members of other faith communities and perform at interfaith events, including the Crop Walk, Thanksgiving service, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, and Holocaust Day of Remembrance. At first, I just wanted another opportunity to sing with a group, but now I enjoy visiting other houses of worship, hearing speakers from other faiths, and most importantly, showing up to support our neighbors at events that are important to them. Being there for each other is what will heal our community and our world.
Now you've heard our stories about how we are living into those big dreams from 5 years ago. I wonder what your stories are. How have you experienced the congregation living out these dreams in big and small ways? How has your life been touched by the way that we are trying to live into our vision?
These are the kinds of questions our stewardship team is inviting us to think about this month as we consider our pledges for the 2025-26 church year. Last week, we kicked off our stewardship campaign, which will run until March 2nd.
Pledges from members and friends in the congregation are a vital source of support for continuing all the good programs you heard about today. If we're going to keep up this work, living into our vision, leading with love, we need your support.
Our goal.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I am not able to get my email and see that. Sorry, I apologize.
Our goal is to raise $425,000 this year, an increase of about 5% from last year. Our costs increase by about 5% each year. So to keep the same level of programming, our income needs to increase by 5% as well.
And so far, we've received 17 pledges for a total of $60,853. That's about 14% of our goal so far. Thank you so much for everyone who has turned in your pledge so far.
And if you didn't receive your packet yet, they will go out in the mail this week. You can turn in your pledge by mailing it in, dropping it off at the church office, or filling it out online.
Now, more than ever, our worship and programs are essential in offering solace, building connections, and providing opportunities for growth and positive change. Our world needs diverse and inclusive faith communities like ours, communities seeking to lead with love in a world filled with fear.
Individual generosity is the lifeblood of our congregation and ensures that our church can continue to be a source of hope, strength, and service for years to come. Please join us in supporting the vital work here at UU Nashua by turning in your pledge form today. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.